It helps if I add myself to the stage. Good morning and welcome to Behind the Screen. I am Jam, and this is a show where we hang out, we talk about games, board games, card games, primarily role-playing games. He said getting rid of a ton of games as he prepares for 2026's purchasing of role-playing games. And today we're going to talk more about Ascendant, because this is what our Supermarches is going to be focused on. But before we get into that, a couple of announcements. First of all, good morning to everyone in the chat, to DM James and Grom and Dreamshaper and Padre and Tink. And yeah, good morning to everybody. So we're going to start a new show in 2026. It's going to be part of the, I don't know if it's going to be a completely new show or just a sub thing of Behind the Screen. I know words. I can talk. Called Get Your Sheet Together. We're going to be looking at making characters for games, what online tools are available, and sort of quantitatively rating the games. So complexity, playability, ease of character creation, that sort of thing. There is a reason why we're going to be going through Ascendant character creation kind of slowly. And yes, it is a great idea, Tink. Thank you for it. And Ross, good to see you. I'm glad that you are here. You got here just in time for our second announcement. It should surprise no one that Zeddy, who I believe is Ross is Zeddy, Zeddy is Ross, Finkel is Einhorn, won our character creation for supervillains for New Helios, and I will be reaching out and giving Zeddy. Excellent, I was right, Ross. You won this week. I've got a little OSR thing that I'm going to be sending out to you, a Swords and Wizardry 3rd edition with a super nice cover on it. So congratulations on that. So in our last Ascendant video, we started talking about how to make characters in Ascendant, and that basically characters in Ascendant are actually really simple because you're just putting together, attributes, stats, picking powers, perks, and skills. We're going to kind of go through all of these in detail as we go forward. But Ascendant can seem overwhelming. It can seem daunting because of the fact that it's a point-by character creation system. And especially if you're learning a new character or a new system, it can be kind of hard to wrap your head around what exactly am I putting together when I am making a character. So we did an overview last week. Today we're talking about kind of the 3 most important charts that you're going to find in the book. And we're going to walk through why they're important. And hopefully this gives us a basis, both as players and GMs, to see, okay, when I'm making a character, what do these things mean? So first of all, I'm going to grab my Ascendant GM screen, because I think all of these, grab my GM screen as my reference, because I think all of these are, they're on here. So let's take a look at some charts. Yes. And here's the thing. Much like Adventure Conquer King, most of the heavy rules for Ascendant are in the background. Once you learn to make a character, once you get to play, and we're actually going to do a play. I'm going to put a poll up later today to see what night we're going to play our Ascendant play test on. But we're going to do our first New Helios play test. And DM James, if you're available, love to have you on that one. Joe, good to see you. Welcome. Turned onto our Twitch stream by Kelly. Tell Kelly I said hello. Again, like that's fantastic. Welcome to the show. We're talking about superheroes. We're talking about Ascendant. And all right, so here's the first chart, and this is a massive chart. And this is what is called the supermetric benchmarks. And remember, in Ascendant, everything is based off SPs, supermetric points. And this is a logarithmic system in the fact what that means is each level is a doubling of the level that came before that. And the reason I'm going through these is, and we're not going to go through them line by line, but as a game master, this is the chart to keep in mind. Hey, good morning, John Doom. So John Doom wants to pick up and throw a Humvee. Well, how heavy is that? Well, we could figure out what the actual weight of a Humvee is, and then very quickly find our supermetric reference point for it. So if you take a look here, and this is just to show you how the doubling effect works. So it starts with distance, and then it gives us a benchmark. So for height, the distance is about 5 feet, and the benchmark is roughly 1 human size. I charted all over myself here. I can't wait to get to the second set of charts. There's a running joke on the Autark Discord that Alexander creates games as a way to generate spreadsheets. And there might be some truth to that. All right, so 0 SPs is a human height. If you go to 1 SP, you've doubled to 10 feet, which is now like a car length. If you go to SP2, you've now gone to 20 feet. So you can see there's a doubling in effect. Speed is kind of the same way. SP2 is human walking about 4 miles per hour. So that's I'm assuming that's a Christopher Walken. But you can quickly see to go from SP, say, 10, which is I'm moving at 1,000 miles an hour, to 11, I'm now moving at 2,000 miles an hour. As the SPs kind of start stacking up, you're getting, again, logarithmic expansion of what you are able to do. And there are 3 charts, and they're all replicated on the GM screen. So they cover, and again, benchmarks are important. So you can see, hey, my player wants to, pick up a horse. How much is that? Well, the benchmark for a horse is about SP6, which is, again, perfect. So it covers distance, speed, time, weight, density, volume, area, money, information, and fame. And that's what I love about some of these. Let's look at some of the tongue-in-cheek things in here. If you go down SP0 on time, the benchmark is the time it takes you, or is the time for 1 page or 1 round of combat. SP7 is your typical YouTube video. SP8 is your typical coffee break. SP25 is the current George R.R. Martin release schedule, and I'm going to be honest, he should probably update that. Density very quickly, if you notice here on the second page, density very quickly taps out because at a doubling at SP15, you're at the density of the sun, and really there is no reason to go any farther than that. For volume at SP25, you could lift up the entirety of San Miguel Island. And then if we go to the next page, let me see if there's an easy way to do that. Again, we have another George R.R. Martin reference, which is the amount of... actually, I think... Oh, it's just our information benchmark. Yeah, it looks like the benchmarks here are not correct on the GM screen. I'm going to have to point that out to Alex. All right, so that's, as a player, as a GM, that's what we want to be looking at when we're running the game. That's why it takes up the most space on the GM screen. Figuring out these super benchmarks are how we define our characters. You want your character to be strong enough to lift up a car. All right, well, that means that you're going to need to have at least an SP8. You want to be able to throw it? Okay, well, now you're going to have like an SP11, which would allow you to throw it a distance of about 40 feet, which is kind of cool if you think about it. It's very easy to figure this out. All right, let's see here. People are talking about throwing the Humvee. Awesome. Your seat was the gunner seat. Oh, some Twitch issues. Sorry about that. Yeah. A Monster Hunter International reference. Fantastic. All right. So the second of the charts that we're going to need is this one right here. And this one is cleverly called the Challenge Action Resolution Table, or chart for short. So this is the chart for when you are really wanting to chart yourself. And the way this works is this is the core of the action resolution system. And so what you'll see here is if you look at the chart, you have resolution values. And those are found by taking your attack in combat. It would be your attacking value versus your defense value. The difference gives you a range between -6 and 6. And then that tells you what happens when you roll the D100. This is a D100 game. Lower is always good. So if you look at if your attack value and your defense value are identical, then you have about a 50% chance of affecting the target. White is a miss. Green is the lowest level of effect. Yellow is the next level up. Orange is the next level up. And then red is what we would consider a critical success. And what's interesting to point out here is in combat, every column you shift over doubles the amount of damage that you do. So let's say that John Doom's character, the Huntsman character, has a strength of 6 SP supermetric point, 6 supermetric points in might. So when he hits somebody, he's going to be doing 16 points of damage if he gets a green result. If he gets a yellow result, he would be doing 32 points of damage. If he gets an orange result, he would be doing 64 points of damage and a whopping 128 points of damage on a critical success or a red result. That is the whole of the game system once you get to the table. Figure out your acting value, figure out the defensive value, subtract it to get your resolution value between -6 and +6, roll your D100 and look at the chart. Tell the GM what color result you got and move on to the next thing. The whole game boils down to one set of addition, subtraction, one die roll, and you're done. And I kind of like that. Like it's a very elegant and simple resolution system. It's just putting the character together that is going to take a little bit more work. But we're going to walk through Ascendant character creation once a week till we're done. So I'm looking forward to doing this. And then the last of the great charts that you need is this one. This is called the Universal Skill and Power table. And this just tells you if you have a power, what does that mean? Because sometimes it's, I have, if I have 12 SPs, what does that mean? So the first column says, hey, this is for your determination, which is like your sanity, your health, and your durability. So if I have a might of 12, I have 640 health. It's pretty simple. The second column is you find your SPs for the power, and that's how much damage or protection it offers. So if I have 10 SPs, I have 64 damage or 64 points of armor or force field. Some of that is ablative, which is just a fancy term for saying I have 64, armor when I activate this power, and as I take damage, it decreases. So strong enough to lift your mom. Oh yeah, that's no moon. There was a great if I can find it again, I will share it on the Iconic Discord. There was a great Your Mama joke battle using AI between Gandalf and Saruman. They animated it, and so it was all Lord of the Rings based Your Mama jokes, and it warms my heart to think about that. Yeah, the punching chart, I love it. You thought you were doing calculus. Yeah, and that's the point. There's a little bit of math. We get to the powers, we'll look at that. Because when you buy a power, you're buying a base cost, and then you're buying a variable cost, and sometimes there's a cost modifier. But that's basically the way it works in Savage Worlds or Champion. When you get to the actual character creation, or when you get to the actual table, the game's going to run smoothly. So when I run our one shot to try out Ascendant at the end of this month, we're going to use pre-generated characters. I'm putting together a set of cheat sheets for the table that I will then share on the Iconic Discord, which is just like, hey, here are the main rules that you're going to want to remember. So there's a couple of things where it's like, oh, if you take damage that would knock you out, you can roll with it and get a condition and have the damage. Or you can spend hero points in unique ways. I would say probably the most complicated part of this game is the power stunt feature. And the power stunt feature we'll talk about more in depth, but it's a way for you to spend your hero points to change the way or gain a new power for a single scene. And the idea for that is it's much like the power stunts work in Savage Worlds, which is why I'm really excited that we're dual statting this because there's so much overlap. But essentially, the thing is super strong, thanks to Ross for making the thing. I do think it was Punky Doodles. Gimli, yes. Gimli and Legolas counted it as two. I got distracted by Your Mama jokes. Oh, the thing is super strong, and that's the core of his character. Like, you would build the thing with like super strength and lots of protection, and basically be able to call it at that. With a power stunt, you could say, well, I want to use the power points I've put into super strength to make an entangle, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll up the concrete and trap this guy. Okay, well, that costs some hero points, and there's a little bit of math. The GM is going to be probably the one doing that. And when we actually get to our actual character creation video where we walk through making a character, Autark has a fantastic character generator for making Ascendant characters on their website. You sign up, you join, and it actually lets you organize your characters by campaign so that you can kind of subdivide them and keep them organized. So I'm very excited about going through this. The reason why I wanted to do this video today is because I really do think that the charts are the core of understanding how to make a character. Supermetric points helps you put your benchmarks that you want your character to have or exceed. The chart is how you determine resolution. And honestly, like I said, once you get to the table, you're going to be amazed that it's really that simple. All right, I'm attacking the Huntsman. The Huntsman has a defense of 3. I have 12 points or he has a defense of 6. I have 12 points in my blast attack. I'm up 6. Let me refer to the chart. I'm going to roll my dice, cross-reference, tell the GM the color. He'll tell me the value, and we're ready to go. And I think for most players, like once you start playing, you won't even need to like reference the GM for the color results. It may even just be simpler to write down, here's my green, yellow, orange, red damage. So I could just say, JM, I do 216 points of damage because I got a red result. It is that simple. Yeah, John Doom just said it, Crip, right? Summoning the Val. Yeah, I keep my 6-pack behind my keg. I feel like that's where it stays coldest. So that's it. That's where we're at today. Next week, we're going to look at a review of Draw Steel. I have got to play now 2 sessions of it, and it looks like my Tuesday group is going to just stay with Draw Steel till the end of the year because our schedules get a little wonky around the holidays. So we're going to just keep playing through the Dealing Tomb. But the group does love it. Yes, Dream Shaper, it is dense. And one of the interesting things is I would actually argue when you read through it, ignore any called out box unless you specifically want more information. If you read just the main text, it's a lot easier to digest. But there's a ton of examples, there's a ton of design notes, there's a ton of optional rules that can distract when you're first trying to learn the system. Yes, it does, which is fantastic. Oh my gosh, Draw Steel was so much fun. I cannot wait. To do the review on that and talk about my players' response, because their response to Draw Steel was radically different to their response to Daggerheart, and I can't wait to talk about that. That'll be next week, I think, probably Thursday of next week. I think that's it for today. Probably no show on Tuesday, health reasons. But we will. I will be talking with all of you guys next week. Until then, everyone, stay safe, stay healthy, stay gaming. Ross, reach out to me on Discord, get me your shipping information, and I'll get that out to you sometime this week. I will see you all later. This has been Behind the Screen, and I'm Jam. Have a good one, everybody.